Welcome to the Life Giving Leader Podcast. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Life Giving Leader Podcast. My name is Tyler Reagan. I'm your host. And, it's my podcast, so that is why I am the host. And grateful to have you here on this episode with my longtime, and honestly, out of probably every guest that I'll have, sans a few, Carlos Whittaker has been one of my longest friends and ministry mentor. Mentor is the wrong word. I don't even know where I said that, but ministry partners. We've been doing ministry together for a long time. You get to hear a little bit about our story, about how he kind of fell into the world he lives in now. He's got an amazing book that just came out today as this goes live called Enter Wild. And so we talk about all that and really some hitting rock bottom moments in his life and how that has spurred a lot of his faith journey now. But let me get you caught up on a few things. Just got back from vacation. It was a great time with the family. I think one of the best parts of this whole trip was that the place we stayed at had its own pool, and the boys just lived in it, and it was so much fun. So we had a great time. And then we also, as you know, I'm going to give you a quick update. My golf handicap, the index just came out. And for those of you who wondering about every other, twice a month, you will get your handicap index updated, and mine is currently a 3.8, which is the best it's ever been. So I've got I got a little round this week, so I'll keep you posted if we can keep notching that thing down to 0. That's what we're fighting for, everybody. So I wouldn't say keep me in your prayers for that. There's plenty of other things you can be praying for, but I just want to make sure you knew what was going on. Hey, if you like the podcast, please share and rate it. And share it with all your friends and rate it if you're new here. My name's Tyler, and I'm glad you're here. We're going to talk a lot about life and leadership and faith and what it means to be a life-giving leader. And then obviously I'm giving you updates on my golf game, and it's really important stuff. Now, here's something that's really exciting to me. I made a little executive decision because I checked with my advisory board, which is just me, and my corporate board, which is also just me, and we decided we've been stirred a lot around this conversation around coaching, which I love to do. That's what a lot of my business is built on. And I realize a lot of people don't know why coaching matters, what coaching is, why do we need it, why would we pay for it. And so I have just interviewed my coach of a long time, executive coach Fran LaMattina. Fran has coached all the top executives at North Point Ministries. She's been coaching for 20 plus years and is an absolute legend in the space. And so we had an hour-long conversation about coaching. What's the difference between coaching and counseling? And so I just want to encourage you, if you're listening and you just kind of tune in here and there, this one is, to me, is maybe the most important episode we've done to date. And I want you to listen to that. Again, all of them are really important to me because we're hitting different subjects. But this is the center of my heartbeat. What I love to do and what I love to talk about, and it's why. And so if you've got people who are in your life, maybe you've got a leader above you who doesn't believe in coaching and you're just going, please get them, make sure you send them the episode. Let's make sure that we get people connected to this, because I really feel like it's mission critical for leaders to pay attention to this. And we talk all about why that is. And so that's coming up next Tuesday, a week from today. So I can't wait for you to listen. It was awesome. I had so much fun talking to Fran. She is a mentor and one of my favorite humans on the planet. So without further ado, I'm going to get into this next interview. Carlos Whittaker and I were sitting together. We met for the first time. This would have been 15, 16 years ago at a conference, and we got not even alphabetically, we just were assigned a seat next to each other, and I met he and Heather, his wife, for the first time, and we talk about that in this episode. But I've just loved watching Carlos's faith journey. He's been through some ups for sure, but a lot of downs as well. And I've watched how he's recovered from some of those things with grace and truth. And he's just one of my favorite people and one of my best friends. And he's also doing a lot of great work right now with racial reconciliation. He's spending a lot of time in Insta stories and on his Instagram, really trying to talk through hard questions that people are asking. And so at the end of this, I'll give you a little more information how to keep up with him. But I'm just grateful for this time, and I'm grateful for that. Again, we're really thankful for you listening. And if you have any questions or anything, DM me. Other than that, let's get to this next episode and this next interview with Carlos Whittaker. Welcome back to the Life Giving Leader podcast. And I know I say this a lot, but I actually have probably one of my longest friends, ministry friends. I mean, we've been doing this together for a long time. Carlos Whittaker sitting on, hey, when you do your podcast, Carlos, I'm still new to this, working on, do I call it the horn, the line, the phone, Zoom?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think if you want to be like a shock jock, you call it the horn, right? Like like if you want to be like Jim Rome, like on sports kind of guy, like you call it the horn. I'd say call it the I'm on the line. I'm on the line with you.
I feel good about that. The line.
I feel good about that too.
Yeah. So for those of you listening that don't know, Carlos and I have known each other 20 years. Now, has it been that long? Maybe 17, 18, something like that. 17,
yeah.
But yeah. Carlos and I remember, this is my claim to fame personally. It was I was sitting next to Carlos before he became famous when he signed up for ragamuffinsoul.com.
Yes.
And because we were at a conference that they forced us to create a blog.
Yes.
And honestly, I mean, that had to be a pretty pivotal part of your story, I would think, isn't it?
It really was. I was sitting there next to you. The conference was called Recreate. We were in Nashville, Tennessee. And I'd opened up my very thick MacBook at that point, and I went to TypePad, and it was 100%typepad.com, and the guy that was leading the conference, I just basically like copied what his blog was, and I made it my own. I called it Ragamuffin Soul, and that was honestly, I was on staff at a church in Southern California, but it allowed me to realize that I had a voice that was bigger than maybe what it was allowed to be broadcast at the moment. And not anyone's fault saying that, but I think that that moment for me when I published my first blog, and I remember somebody that I'd never met before like commented on it, and I was like, wait a second, like, this is cool. Now you guys got to remember, this was like way pre-social media. Like this was, and then it was like a small little worship leader crew in Southern California started watching. I started doing these things called worship confessionals, and I would talk about the worship set after the worship set, and I'd do it on a Real Player. I can't remember what video format I was using at the time, but that started to gain some traction. And yes, Tyler, that moment was when I realized that maybe my space was going to be different than what a typical church leader space was going to look like.
And your journey has kind of, there's been a lot of differences, but it's somehow hovered around some of that subject matter. But watching it and working through a lot of these things together, it's been interesting to watch your journey. So tell people, past that a little bit, give us a little bit of since then, what all has happened in your world.
Yeah. The permeating line of consistency through my whole journey since I met you has really been a common theme of me sharing my story digitally. Right. And so like, I've done that in various forms, but where the bills have gotten paid most of the time, up until recently has been, and where ministry has been for me has been in the local church. I was, because of you, we became friends. And then you told me that there was a job opening at North Point. And so, I jumped through that hoop, and my whole family ended up, at Buckhead Church. And I was the service programming director there. A very bad one, but I had a great time. And Tyler and I, our friendship grew at that point. We were coworkers together. I won't say it was a bad one, but I definitely had a short attention span. I was ready for something new. So after a few years,
I gave you a C+, by the way, if you're ever wondering.
Thanks.
Like the total ranking, that's it's above average, but needs some work.
It's definitely above average. I was really bad at leading my team, but I'm really good with coming up with ideas. So I don't know, maybe I should have been a consultant or something like that. But and then so I was at North Point for a few years. I ended up signing a record deal with Integrity Music, and again, that actually came out of my blog. So like my blog had gotten bigger and bigger while I was on staff at North Point. And then I started a podcast. Funny thing is, and it was called, oh my gosh, I can't remember what it was called. Anyway, I started a podcast, and it was all about worship leading, and Integrity Music found my podcast because I was reviewing some of their worship records. And then they saw my blog and saw how many followers I had. And then they came and heard me lead worship at North Point. And then I got a record deal because of my blog. So then I moved to Nashville. toured, did the worship artist thing for a couple years until I realized how much I hated making music and sitting in studios. And I really did. Like it was miserable for me to sit in a studio for 9 months and create these records.
It's funny, Carlos. It reminds me, like, you remember my little phase of doing photography? I don't know if you remember that or not.
Yeah. Oh no, I remember.
What I loved was shooting. What
Right.
I hated was editing.
Editing.
Like
Yep.
being by myself for 4 hours trying to edit pictures and just change contrast and color. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is miserable.
Yeah, yeah. No, I know, I get it. It was like that for me, and again, up until that point, I was on staff for 10 years at a church in Southern California, as a worship pastor, and then
Yep.
I was programming at Buckhead, but I'd lead worship once a month as well, and then I kept leading worship with integrity, starting a tour, leading worship at my friends' churches, Elevation, and some churches here in Nashville, Cross Point, and I loved the leading worship part, but
Yeah.
I guess the shift in my story came when. This whole time I'm doing music, I'm still blogging and I'm still writing, and there's way more people, to be honest with you, that are reading what I'm writing on the internet every day than buying my music and listening to my music. And I had a conversation with Mike Foster. He's a good friend of both of ours, and I'll never forget. Mike looked at me and said, "Carlos, I know you're a worship leader, and I know you're pouring all your blood, sweat, and tears into that, but I promise you that people see you more as a thought leader than a worship leader.
Yeah.
And if you can make a pivot, and it's going to be scary, I think that's going to be the direction you need to go." Now, this was like, right. I mean, I was like, things were going great for worship leader Carlos.
Right.
Like I was busy. I had a band. I had a record deal. I was just about to sign another one. And I prayed about it. I followed Mike's advice, and I started hearing from the Lord that truth. And I made a pivot. I made a shift. And it was a scary pivot, scary shift, but I did. And started writing books because that's most people were reading what I was writing, and on my blog, and then shifted from there, and it worked, man. Here I am 3 books later, and I'm speaking, speaker Carlos, Instagrammer Carlos, author Carlos. My bio says I tell stories, and that's really what I do, whether it's on the stage, on Instagram, in a book. It's what I do. And so here we sit. I'm still telling stories. Ministry looks a lot different for me than it did when I met you.
So does it for
ministry
me.
looks a lot different for you than when I met you.
Fact.
But here we are, doing things differently, but still doing things. And it's been a blast to have you along with me.
Yeah. And I love that. You are a storyteller. It's what always has been your gift. And whether it was through music, through writing, you have a drive around it. It's funny how God does these things in us, right? Because I have the same drive that you have for storytelling around leadership and investing in leaders. Like it's just, it's a DNA thing. I'm going to interview our friend Brad Lomenick soon. And one of the questions I want to ask him is where did that hook, you get the bug to tell stories. I got that bug, and it's going to be a lifelong pursuit, and just looking at the different mediums and avenues. So, this is called Life-Giving Leader. Actually, Carlos, you're still the first person that read the book that didn't have to, that I know of.
Oh,
because I remember you and I were sitting at Marlowe's Tavern, and I'd handed you the advanced reader copy, which I have of yours right now in lavender. I love the lavender, by the way.
Yeah, thanks, bro. Thanks.
But I remember saying, "Hey, when you get a chance," you go, "No, I already read it." And I remember the emotion that brought into me, because it's one of the first times I'd created something to put out with my name on it. And because I've curated for people for so long, but that moment meant the world to me because you took the time to read it. And that it's such a weird thing, it's such a unique thing. So, but anyway, so Life-Giving Leader podcast, when you hear that phrase, life-giving leader, what's 1 or 2 attributes or characteristics that come to your mind when you hear that phrase?
Man, that's such a good question. I would say empathy is one that comes to mind, because I've had leaders around me in my life that lacked that and had that. And I think for someone like me with my personality that is going to take big risks, and because I take big risks, I fail a lot. When a leader has empathy for me and for what I'm trying to do, I mean, it makes me a follower forever, right? Like forever when I see that attribute from them. And so, Jeff Henderson is a great example for me. He was my boss at Buckhead Church, and man, just the empathy he had for me and my story, that was big. And I'd say another characteristic when I think a life-giving leader is I don't even know how to put this into words, but somebody that believes in you. And there's something about seeing, well, it's the moment you talked about. It's the moment that, oh, you read the
Right.
book.
Right.
Like you didn't just, you didn't just give me a quote, you actually read it. Like that hopefully breathed life into you. And
100%.
so there's something about believing in somebody and having a leader believe in you, or else you shouldn't even be on their team, right? So
Right.
when a leader believes in you, and when they show that they believe in you, man, that for me at least goes a long way.
So why do you think that kind of leadership matters in the faith community?
Oh, because man, we are grinding. That there is no any corporate setting, secular setting that you go into that's not faith based. You're grinding for and the common goal may be, I don't know, selling soap. Say you're like selling soap, and if you're getting you chewed out and spit out, guess what? You get to go and find another job, and you can just kind of hop around, and there's not a lot of ethos involved in. I'm not saying that maybe someone listens that sells soap. I'm not saying that's like
Right.
something
Right.
that is. But what I am saying is that when it comes to the faith community at this point, if I just see the potential for burnout so much faster, because we care so much about the
Yep.
product, right? And the product that we have is salvation in Jesus. And so since there's so much care about it, we're going to work way harder. We're going to work at night. We're going to work when we're not being asked to work. And so if there's not a leader that's leading a group of individuals that
Sure.
are, so called to this dream, then the burnout is going to come faster than ever. And people are going to drop and we've seen it, right? People just drop
Yep.
like flies. And so in order to have a leader that has empathy, and in order to have a leader that is life-giving, is so important in the faith-based community, because people are going to burn themselves out.
Yeah, they need it. And honestly,
Yeah.
we need it across the board.
Yeah.
It still goes back to that Inc. magazine article that says 65% of people would take a new boss over a pay increase. That
Yeah.
is not different than the church. The church,
Yeah.
it's like, we always wish divorce rate in the church was different than the world. It ain't.
Right.
We want it to be. That's what we're fighting for. There's an ideal. Same
Yeah.
thing with leadership, man. I know guys that can preach the paint off the wall, but they can't
Yeah.
lead.
Yeah.
And you're sucking the life out of people. So, you and I, our journey has always been with faith in the foreground. It's always been
Sure.
ministry. It's been central. I've watched your faith journey over the last 4 or 5 years take a pretty radical shift and a radical turn. Can you talk about what's kind of happened in your faith journey that, because a lot of times, and you talked about how Mike Foster spoke life into you and you changed kind of direction, even Henry Seeley speaking life into you and adjusting that. Can you talk a little bit about where your faith journey is kind of adjusted?
Yeah. Gosh,
Yeah,
I
you don't
think
like people interviewing you didn't know you too well, do you?
I know. I'm like, dang it, Tyler. I think for me, anyone that's, and there's a lot of people that actually have followed me for, it's been 15
Long
years
time,
now,
yeah.
right? I mean, my son's 14 years old. We adopted him when he was an infant.
Unbelievable.
And I vlogged the whole thing 14 years ago on YouTube. So like, I know that there's been people that have watched, and there's been a consistent stream of DMs and questions from people going, man, like you're talking different. Like your faith looks different. Like things have shifted. So even I think people that are looking on the surface can realize that my language has shifted. And I know that I had been, Tyler, it's no secret if you followed me online that I've shared about my struggle with anxiety and depression and different issues in my life. And I think I'd gotten to a place where I'd gotten about 60% better. And I think I'd kind of made a deal with God, like, hey, you know what? Like, as long as I don't go back
Sure.
to like when life really was hell, then I'm good. Like I'm good here. I can minister here. I can live my family here. And then my family about 4 years ago started going to a church here in Nashville called the Belonging Company. And I'll never forget, it was that very first Sunday when Alex Seeley, our pastor, I think she said something to the effect of, you don't have to wait for heaven to experience heaven. You can bring heaven here. And I remember thinking, like, my little Southern Baptist theological brain was like, I don't know. I don't know what that means. Like, what does that mean? And I began to witness a shift in how Holy Spirit works in my life,
Mm.
because I started to see it taught, and I started to see it in the worship setting, and I started to here I am 40 years old at the time, and um, I feel like a kindergartner in
Yep.
church, because I'm witnessing Holy Spirit begin to do things that I never knew was available on this side of heaven. And so my church, I think, was definitely the catalyst in me, um, in me not I don't think I shifted. I think I left the land of sin management in church, and I got on a boat, and I immigrated, and I stepped off into the land of miracle signs and wonders. And when I stepped onto that land, I said, you know what, I'm never going back.
Sure.
Like yes, we can manage our sins, but that definitely is not the purpose of my faith. Jesus, again, you talk about this in your life-giving leader, John 10:10, a thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy.
Right.
I've come that they may have life. And it doesn't say inhabit to 60%.
Exactly
But that's
right.
where I was sitting. And when I tasted life to the full, I was like, oh, that's what I want. And I've been sprinting straight towards helping people experience
Yep.
this new land that I've been experiencing for only a few years now. I want everybody to come over.
Yeah, and that's really where the new book that comes out on my birthday. I appreciate that nod.
Happy birthday, bro.
June 16th, 2020. I will be 44, and you will be releasing your third book called Enter Wild. And you and I have I don't even know how many conversations we've had about this fire in you for this conversation and what you just talked about. Give us what you just talked about is the kind of, it's the mission, it's the purpose, but give us a little more background on what we can expect in this conversation.
Yeah, man, it started with that. It was started for me leaving a mild faith, right? Stepping off of that land of a mild faith and stepping into a wild faith. And once I experienced the wild faith, like I never wanted to go back.
Right.
Like
Chick-fil-A the first time.
Right. Just like Chick-fil-A. By the way, number one with well done fries is
my wife's on the way back soon. So
okay. So here's the deal. There's and I talk about this a little bit in the book, but how I kind of explain this to some of my more conservative friends, okay, is if you've ever watched Chronicles of Narnia, you've ever read the book or seen the movie, there's a scene where Lucy enters the wardrobe, and she's kind of peeking through and she falls into this land of miracle signs and wonders is what I mean. She falls into this land of Narnia. She runs back into the house, and after she has her time there, and she starts telling her siblings, she's like, "You'll never believe where I went. Oh my gosh, that's incredible." And none of them believe her. Like none of them believe her. And so when they finally go to the old man in the house, he looks at them and he says, "Well, has she ever lied to you before?" And they said, "No." And she said, well, then why would she lie now? So she finally convinces them to walk through the wardrobe. And when you see their faces, when they step through the wardrobe and see what Narnia is, that's exactly what I feel like I'm doing with people. That's exactly what I feel like this book is doing. I'm opening up the veil to where people can see that we are in this land of miracles, signs, and wonders. And the book is, it's not a book like it's not propaganda for the charismatic church or anything. Like that's like not the goal here. The goal is freedom. It's my last book, Kill the Spider, help people kind of identify the root cause of their behavioral issues. If that was like basic training for warfare, I think Enter Wild is going to be more like my version of Navy SEAL training for warfare and for getting to the freedom that we truly have. So the book's divided into 3 sections: Enter Rest, Enter War, and Enter Wild. And the ultimate goal is to exchange worry for wonder, right? To exchange anxiety for amazement. And I feel like through my story of finally, there's a smaller storyline in the book, story arc of me finally getting past my anxiety and depression. And so what the book's not about my anxiety, depression. There's a small story arc, but I hope that story arc shows people that that kind of stuff is available, that full and true healing. We don't have to just wait for heaven to experience it. It's available here.
That's really good. And you've even been teaching courses on anxiety and fear. And I know I guess the last one's called Serotonin Spark. Is that correct?
Yep. Serotonin Spark.
And Which, by the way, if you go to your website right now, you can't get any Carlos. You just have to
No,
find
bro.
you in Instagram. There's
we
something's a brewing.
Something it says something's coming. Actually, if you go to carloswhittaker.com, but if you put /home, then you can see everything.
Okay, that's fair. So, but you really have with Kill the Spider. I agree. That was the starting spot. We got to identify what that spider is, what that thing is. But talk a little bit because we're living in as we're recording, still, well, I'm in Georgia, so we opened up today, I guess, whatever that means. But
Lord have mercy. I can see coronavirus outside your window. It's flying by right
it's
now.
just hilarious. Whatever. One decision, everybody's like, you live in Georgia? Oh, gosh. Okay, I'm not going to the nail salon.
Everyone's
today.
bowling alley.
I'm gonna. Which, by the way, why in the world would bowling alley be on that list? Is
I
there
don't know.
a more German-infested place that we know?
I don't know. Stick your fingers.
At least at pools, you got chlorine that's trying to kill that stuff. All right, so, but we're living in probably some of the most anxiety-filled, even if things are going well in your world, and you own Publix for crying out loud, and it's exploding. The anxiety is a whole nother layer of it.
Yeah.
Give me one or two practical thoughts that you're walking through with people and yourself.
Yeah.
We're walking through unprecedented times. I mean, you're in the event business as well as I am.
Yeah.
And your gigs dried up for months. Yeah. How did you avoid falling into some holes that you probably would have fallen into in the past?
Absolutely. So, I don't think it's an accident that Enter Wild is going to come hopefully on the tail end of this pandemic where people are struggling with fear and anxiety and depression and all those things. And in the book, the middle section, Enter War, I think I wrote for myself for this season when the world drops out from underneath me and everything is fear-based. Everything that we're hearing, you cannot open up Twitter and Instagram without fear. And so practically speaking, what I've learned is two weapons that we have at our disposal. The first one is praise and thanksgiving. That is, as crazy as that seems, those are literally biblically our weapons that we have against fear and against anxiety and against mental health. So there's a song that everyone loves, right? Surrounded. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. Well, Upper Room Worship ended up writing a verse for that because people were saying, this is how I fight my battles, but I don't think people knew what they were talking about. Well, what's the way I fight my battles? So they wrote a verse that says this. It's a perfect verse. It says, there's a table that you've prepared for me in the presence of my enemies. This is straight scripture. And my weapons are praise and thanksgiving.
Yep.
This is how I fight my battles. Well, there you have it. So what ends up happening, and this isn't just something that Christians understand. Even like clinical secular psychologists know that when you are grateful and you thank, there are Dr. Caroline Leaf talks about this all the time. During praise and thanksgiving, literally your brain will shift, and there's things, the serotonin levels and things will shift in your brain. So I do every single day. I have 15 minutes of praise and thanksgiving that I do. It sets my day up. And then I'd say the second thing that we need to do is pray the promises of God as opposed to praying the problems. And what we end up doing is our prayer life during times of pandemics, like I've been in more than one, but this is the one that I see is, oh God, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm so depressed. Oh God, I'm so anxious. Oh God, I'm so fearful. Well, what are we doing? We're not resisting the enemy, right? We're reciting the enemy. And so we're declaring the enemy's promises over our lives, as opposed to opening up the word of God, finding scriptures that are anti the lies we believe, and start to speak those out over your life. Tyler, I'm telling you, at that moment, like the chains of all of our anxiety and depression, all these things begin to fall. Yeah. And man, I can scream that from the rooftops, because I honestly believe praise and thanksgiving and praying the promise instead of the problem will really shift people's mental health.
And we've been friends a long time, and I've always admired your relationship with Heather and the openness and the candor and then your three kids, watching them grow. I mean, when you moved to Buckhead, Losai was little.
Yeah, I mean, he was like 9 months old. I mean, I don't know how old he was. Like he was.
My daughter is the cutest kid. He's cuter than. I mean, don't let them hear you, but it might be cuter than my boys. I mean,
well, here's the deal. And now I've got so Halo turns 18 as far as this recording. a little plug for one of the people that you work along with. She just decided to go to the Belonging School of Ministry, which is a SEU accredited program. So she's got to apply at SEU and do the whole
She's
thing.
going to have to take my course that I'm teaching.
Yes,
on Service
awesome.
Production 101, baby. Let's go.
That's awesome. So my family, I mean, we people have kind of watched my kids grow up online, and it's been fun.
Let me ask you this. So with these things you've learned, and there's another layer to this too, and I don't want to go too long into it, but they've grown up on social media. They've grown up in the public eye, as you just mentioned. What's one thing that you see that's super positive about it, in a way that you're teaching your kids to manage their own social moving forward? And then what's one pitfall that you would try to help us as leaders or people avoid as we're teaching our kids about it?
Yeah. Well, the pitfalls are easy, right? Like we can talk about those until we're blue in the face. Let's go pitfalls first. Pitfalls are obviously having your identity being based on what other people believe about who you are. I mean, has
that ever been a challenge for you throughout this?
Yes. Oh dear God. Has it? I mean, it's,
that really wasn't funny. Sarcastic. I promise. Yeah. That wasn't one of those like passive aggressive. Now, Carlos.
No, I don't believe it was. But it's funny. Like you can, if anyone ever wants to do like a documentary series on Carlos's faith journey via Instagram, you literally could. You can see and Kill the Spider. I go through the lowest season of my life. I lost my family. I lost everybody. You can see when I was desperate for attention from other people. You can see it. It's visible. Anyone can tell online. Sure. Like you can tell. And all it's showing is our innate desire to be needed, right? Yep. We all want to be needed, and we just can't use social media to do that. So that's one thing that I would obviously tell our kids and try to show our kids as much as you can. Listen, but this is also a new world that we're living in since social media has come out, and there's so many positive things that are coming out of this. When my daughter got sick in November, and she was in the hospital for 21 days, and we were told she has a cancerous tumor in her chest.
Yep.
I made a conscious decision. The moment we wheeled into that ER and she's in massive pain, I am going to call upon the prayers of everyone that follows me. It was a completely selfish decision. If I had 100 followers, I may not have done this, but I knew that I had thousands of people that would pray, drop on their knees in that moment. And I began to share via Instagram the miraculous story of my daughter's healing that happened after 21 days in the hospital.
Right.
So this is what I found, Tyler. And this is the good that obviously people with social media, there are so many people that were watching this Christian leader go through such doubt and the darkest days of my life, and come out the other side with more faith than I've ever had. And I watched my daughter's struggle and story lead people to more hope than they've had in so long. People that were like, I haven't prayed to God in 10 years, but I decided to pray for your daughter. And because I started praying for your daughter, started following you, my relationship with God, I've now found a church, I'm serving. And so, I mean, this is the stuff that the social media the social media. Awesome. That was the most 75-year-old thing I've ever said. This is the stuff that social media can propel us into, and how it can be used for good. So, it's a beautiful thing. Just like anything, it's a tool. It can be used for negative or positive.
Yeah. Well, I live in the Georgia, that state.
Yeah. You live in the Georgia.
There you go.
I think it's because I'm from in California. We call it the
101,
the 405, and so that's what it is.
It just comes out. I get it. It slips out a little bit. Yeah. Okay. So here's where we're going to go. One more question, then we're going to do a little lightning round.
Boom.
But, my world, your world has always revolved around creative processes, creative people. I would not say this for you. I would say this for me. I'm not the most creative myself, but I've always known how to lead in the creative space and love creative. How are you able to constantly tweak and stay creative as you're storytelling, as you're writing? What's one or two things that stir up in your mind as you, like, if you walk down right now to your basement, you're going to either record a new podcast, you want to create a new course, whatever, you're trying to solve a need.
Yeah.
How do you spark creativity as you go through that?
Yeah. I think it's two steps. I think the first step in order for me to be creative is I have to know that what I'm going to create is going to solve some need that somebody has. So identifying the pain point initially is huge for my creativity. Any Insta story you see me tell, anything, I'm trying to help a pain point. But when it comes to the creative process in and of itself, if I'm not, and this is for me, if I'm not rested, if I'm not in a space to be able to hear God, then my creativity is going to be lackluster. If In order for me to hear God, I've got to lower the volume of life, right? And so when the volume of life is really loud, my creativity it sucks. It's
Yeah.
horrible. But and honestly, this is why I think that during this pandemic quarantine season, my creativity, I feel like it's gone through the roof because the volume of life has come down. I'm watching all my friends. You're launching podcasts. You're doing all these creative things. I think it's because the volume of life has suddenly gone down. And so if you're a creative and if you're struggling and you want more creativity and ideas, I don't think the answer is to subscribe to more podcasts, to get more Pinterest boards, to get more.
Yeah.
I honestly believe we're already oversaturated with information. What our brains need is less.
Yeah.
And when we can empty some stuff out, I think there's going to be some more room inside of our souls to create.
I love that. Okay, here we go. We got to wrap this thing up because you and I could talk for days and hours on end. But
I know.
Couple quick questions. You got to answer fairly quickly, okay?
Okay.
Best marriage advice you and Heather have ever gotten?
I would say that we are not both that we're both our own people, and I think that so many marriages struggle because they look at themselves as standing on. This is going to sound weird, but this is the marriage advice I got. You're not standing on one pillow. There, one pillow in the middle. Both of your feet are on. You each have one foot, but then you also have another foot on your own pillow. And you have to remember that if you're both standing on one pillow, then you're not your own people anymore. Yeah. So you keep one foot on that pillow, one foot on your own pillow, and I think it'll balance out.
The new podcast can be called Pillow Talk with Tyler and Carlos.
With Tyler and Carlos.
All right, favorite movie of all time?
Braveheart.
Still holding it strong?
Still holding. I mean, I'd say Ferris Bueller's Day Off can come in a close second.
Sure.
But that doesn't inspire me near as much as Braveheart does.
When I was finishing this last book, writing wise, I actually learned this from you about soundtracks and playing those while I'm writing. And Braveheart, man, that
I can't wait to read the last few chapters. Then you're going to be like,
freedom. I pretty much crush people with that. Best leadership idea or principle that's kind of helped you stay leading well.
Yeah. I think that Andy, we both work for Andy Stanley, and I don't even know if this is leadership advice. This was just something that he told me that really shifted the trajectory of my career. He called me one day after I got in leading worship, and he said, Carlos, you're a great worship leader. You're a great actually the call was about service programming. This was a kind way of him firing me. He said Carlos, you're a great service programming director. You could do this the rest of your life. I just saw you lead worship, and I remember I was in the tunnel at Buckhead about to pull out and leave, and he said, and you have something on stage that I'm just telling you, it's just stronger than anything that you do as far as like leading your team.
Yeah.
People, when you walk on stage, feel like they're your best friend.
Yep.
And so you can't teach
and when
that
they're
to
on
somebody.
your Insta stories,
and when they're on my Insta stories, same thing. And so when he told me that, he just said, I want you to just take this into consideration. You can do this forever. We'd love to have you forever. But I feel like there may be something that you're missing that you can. And when he said that, it was like because he said, you don't have a great voice. He's like your voice. This is just Andy Stanley.
It was a CompuSalt. It was a hug and a push. He's like, you're such a great worship leader. People love you. And it's not because you have a great voice. It's because they feel like they can trust you. And when he told me that's not necessarily leadership advice, Tyler, but it was because what he told me was to find the thing that I was created to do and to do that. Perhaps lead from your truest self. I mean that.
Yes, maybe, perhaps lead from your truest self.
Perhaps.
And so, I always appreciate that advice from him.
Yeah.
And it did that propelled me into going, maybe it is. And now I get to see that take shape.
Here's the difference, Carlos. I know a lot of people that hear are told great advice.
Yeah.
The difference is you did something about it. That's what I love about you. And that's one of those things. So many leaders are like, well, I was given this advice, but nobody's ever given me da-da-da. You haven't listened. You heard it, but you didn't do anything about it. All right, Absolutely. 2 more. If you could only listen to one band, their entire catalog, but one band for the rest of, let's just say for the rest of 2020. I'm not going to put you into the lifetime, but 2020, what would you be other than Carlos Whittaker Band?
Yes, please. I'm not going to go back 2010 to listen to that, but man, I would have to say, I'm going to kick now. This is going to sound weird, but maybe just kind of feeling nostalgic. It may be Run DMC.
Come on.
I may listen to Run DMC, You Be Illin' for every single day for the rest of 2020.
Just that once. I mean, do you feel like the catalog's?
Oh no, the catalog. No. I'd go for the whole catalog.
Okay.
But there's this, and I think the only reason I said this is last night, both of our friend Jarrett Stevens was doing a live DJing in his house, and he was doing nothing but spinning like old school hip hop. And something in me was like, that's all I want to listen to. So even this morning I was listening to it. And now because of you, the rest of 2020 is going to be Run DMC.
That's it. That's all you got. All right. Last thing. Favorite thing about me. No, I'm just kidding. You don't have to
favorite thing about you is the new beard that you're sporting.
Thank you.
Bro,
I got a new look here going on.
I don't know if I want to see beardless Tyler anytime soon.
I don't know that I do either. I kind of feel more manly at 43 than I have in a long time. So, hey, man, you know how much I love you and Heather and your family. I'm not sure there's many people I'm more in the corner of than you guys. And we've walked through some stuff together, and I think that's made us and our relationship, friendship even stronger. So proud of you, and thanks for being a part.
Thanks for having me on the Life Giving Leader podcast.
Awesome. Thank you, Carlos. If you want to keep up with him, like you said, you can go to @LosWhit, LOSWHIT on all the social media. Or you can just go to carloswhitaker.com. Enter Wild as everywhere books are sold, and you won't regret it. It is a great book. It is a great conversation about a new lifestyle if you were to invest into this faith journey, maybe a little bit deeper than you have, and trust that God wants to do amazing things in your life. Again, I love him to death. You can see why he's gained influence, and I'm grateful for his communication, his storytelling, and his heart, and really, honestly, his friendship. And those of you that have lived, much life, you realize how important great friends are, and he's been one of those for me. And so I'm so thankful for that. But another great friend coming up next week, as I mentioned, Fran LaMattina. It's going to be awesome. This episode might be one of the most important episodes I've put out, because I think so many of you that are listening, or so many of you know somebody who needs to hear this conversation around coaching, counseling, consulting, and the need for people speaking into your life. So be encouraged, be praying this week that God would give you some sort of need for that conversation, and that you look forward to our conversation with Fran LaMattina. Thank you, Carlos. Thank you for all my friends. Thank you, my friends at Retro 8 Films. If you want to know more about how to create film and create stories that help grow your brand, go to retro8films.com. So that's all in the show notes, and I'm thankful. Again, please rate it and share it with all your friends. We're trying to build this little community of life-giving leaders, and I'm grateful for all your friendship. So we'll see you next week.